Okay, this is Coach Huebner courtside, and we have one of the legends of Western Pennsylvania, John Miller, today. He's actually at his gym where he still does workouts. He drills for skills, and that's not just here. It happens all over the place. He's got different sessions. There's a whole bunch of boys and girls in there right now, and that's what's going on. Coach, you're a big Western Pennsylvania guy. Did you accomplish everything you wanted to in your illustrious career with 4 state titles at Blackhawk?
Well, I would say yes. I mean, when we first started out, we were just trying to win, and as the years moved on, improved, got better, and so we gained a lot, and I think over the long haul, probably accomplished pretty much what we wanted to.
And one of the reasons we're here today too, not only to talk to a great coach, but his book just came out, Miller Time, and some of the things that were interesting in there. I saw your first year, I guess a couple football guys didn't come out at Riverside, and your first year was 1-21. How did you keep the people off your back at that point? I know how tough parents can be at times.
Well, when I first started, I was at Riverside, then I came over to Blackhawk, and then as I took over at Blackhawk, we were in a very, very difficult section. You remember the old Section 3. Mm-hmm. It was Quad A, and it was probably the toughest section in the state. Eddie McCluskey, Farrell, and Sharon, Beaver Falls, Ambridge, Aliquippa. So we were thrown into that league, and didn't have an elementary program, didn't have the lower grades at all, and so consequently, we took a few on the chin that first year, 1-21. It was a difficult year, but I had a bunch of hard-working kids, and we got through it.
Were there some tough nights going home? Am I doing the right things, or did you just know it's going to take time?
No, I never looked back, never second-guessed ourselves. I just try to get better every week, with our team, and same with the program. I just, and it's like 40 years later, and we're still pretty much the same, just trying to get better week to week, trying to improve the kids. And if you kind of live by that motto, I think in the end result, you'll maybe reach the top of the mountain, so to speak.
Well, both your sons have reached the top of the mountain. You have Sean at Arizona coaching there, and you have Archie at Indiana. Not many parents are going to raise 2 kids that are going to head Division I basketball programs. How'd you do it, Coach?
That's a good question. Just working hard, and they both had pretty good careers as players, and that helped. That really helped. Being a good player opened some doors up, and the older son opened the doors a little bit for the younger son, and so they both made their way.
Well, I think a lot of people know the story about Sean. What was it, the Tonight Show, with his ball handling drills, his dribbling drills, but in the book, you took him all over the place doing that. That wasn't like a one and done deal. You spent a lot of time on the road with him, didn't you?
Yes, in the early years, Sean and I traveled all over the country. We were in Europe, we were in Canada, pretty much, kind of done and seen it all. We did half times of NBA games and half times of McDonald's game. I think we did the McDonald's game about 6 times where he came out in front of the crowd, and really enjoyed basketball, and it developed him, and the reason that we were doing that type of thing was to try to develop him to become a good basketball player, and lo and behold, it worked.
Yeah, I'll say. And the one question I have for you here is, you mentioned Eddie McCluskey at Farrell. We talked about Ambridge, the 1967 state championship team might have been the greatest in Pennsylvania history. You know the backstory of Western Pennsylvania basketball. For the people back east like me, what are some things that they don't know that they should know? What's some of the history that you think maybe Western Pennsylvania people know, maybe not as many in the east?
Well, I think the WPIL District 7, over the years, it was big enough to be like a state championship. It was one of the largest districts in the country. And, to win the WPIL is kind of a feat, because over the years there were so many teams in the WPIL, It's dwindled a little bit now, and they've got it watered down. And now we're in six tiers, classifications. But back, in the old days, I mean, if you won the WPIAL, the WPIL, they call it the WPIAL. That was quite a feat. And a lot of teams would get knocked off in states because they'd be so fired up sky high over winning the WPIL, they'd get knocked out in the first or second round of the PIAA.
Yeah. And who were some of your coaching role models back then growing up? Who were some of the guys you borrowed from?
Guys I borrowed from, number one was Eddie McCluskey at Farrell, Eddie Olkowski at Midland, Hank Kuzma, Midland. Those were key people. Chuck DiVinzio, who was the '67 Ambridge coach, and then moved on to North Allegheny. His son went to Duke, Dick, and so those were some guys that I really followed and studied, as I was coming up.
And what was your style? Would you say when you finally settled on, this is how I want my teams to play? What was that?
Our pace was extremely fast. We really wanted to push the ball up. We wanted to get 100 points. We want to score high. And you say, well, why do you want to do that? Well, it's just more fun. You got everybody getting 16, 18, 20 points, and more scoring, the more fun. And people are happier and they're practicing longer, harder. And I just think it's more fun if I'd rather put 80 up than 40 and win. I'd rather put 80 up and win. And so that was kind of our style. Quick inbound, get it out of the net fast, bring it up, run the secondary break, and then, play our game. Defensively, then, if we scored, we were going to try to pressure. Okay. So we're going to pick you up all over. Man-to-man. Man-to-man, basically pretty much man-to-man pressure. And we're going to try to wear you down with about 8 guys. And, lo and behold, that we became pretty successful doing that.
Well, right now we're basically having this interview at a car dealership in the Beaver Valley shopping mall, correct?
Correct. The Beaver Valley Auto Mall is where we are.
Auto Mall. And in the back, he has converted a Circuit City site into a gym that's great for workout. We'll show you the highlights. You'll get to see that throughout this show. I have to ask you, how do you compare and contrast Archie and Sean's style as coaches? I mean, they're not the same person. How about the way they coach? How would you categorize that?
I would say they're both pretty much almost a carbon copy of each other. They both play half court man-to-man. They're both really, really crazy on defense. Yeah. The defense is what they're after. Arch, I think, runs a little bit more right now than Sean does. I think Sean right now, with losing the prospects that he had this past year, he'll probably do a lot more running maybe this upcoming year. But they both pretty much play the same style. Arch is 10 years younger than Sean, so he looks at Sean as a mentor. And it's not really a competitive type of thing. Even when they were growing up, he was more or less the big brother who was a good player, and he looked up to him.
And, Western Pennsylvania, you also have some other relatives that happen to work at Kentucky. What can you tell me about that person?
Well, Calipari, Calipari grew up in our house. I don't know what he is, whether he's the 5th cousin, the 3rd cousin, but I know this, he lived at my house, and his mom used to watch us and when we were little. And John Calipari is very, very close with our family. He played high school ball with my younger brother at Moon Township, and we're in pretty close contact with him all the time.
Well, seeing all the success they had in the college level, is there any part of you that says, I wish I would have given it a shot instead of staying just high school? Because you could have done it too.
Yeah, I coming out of college, I had a chance of going right with the ABA, and I came back up to Pittsburgh. I was in North Carolina at a small school, Pfeiffer University, and I left there, came back up, and started teaching. I was just completely crazy on just coaching. It didn't matter to me where I was at, what level. I started coaching at Moon. I had the little kids and worked up into the junior high for a year or so, and then took the Riverside job. And to be honest with you, what kept me where I am was my kids. I have 4 children, 2 daughters, two sons, and I just got to live every day, spend time with them. They were with me all the time. And when Sean and I traveled, doing these clinics and things that we did at all the basketball summer camps and tours, I used to just take Arch right with me. Arch was kind of my ball guy. He handled the balls and the equipment. He was just a little guy, and but he learned he just sort of learned the ropes as he was growing up. He was always with us.
Yeah, and it's amazing what they have sort of learned and absorbed and kind of gone on their own. And one more question here before halftime. It's almost halftime. You won 657 games. My question is, who was the hardest player to stop? Who was the best team you ever faced? That you guys actually played.
That's a good question. I mean, there was so many guys. How about a guy called Brad Davis?
Oh, that one with the Mavericks. Played with the Mavericks.
Played with Dallas. And Brad Davis. He just lived right over the hill here where we are.
Okay.
He was from Monaca. Great player. Great player.
Did he light you up?
Terrific person. He was just such a team guy. He could easily get 28, 30. I mean, but he could do it all. And a gentleman, just a great guy. Great guy. He's with the Mavs as we speak today.
Okay.
I think he might be their color guy. I'm not sure, but he was a guy that really sticks out. Pipkin, Chris Pipkin, played at New Brighton. Great player. I think he went to Eastern Michigan. He was good. I mean, we faced so many. Danny Fortson, Cincinnati Bearcats. Those were some of the best that we kind of come in contact with. Midland had guys. Midland had a ton of good players. The Slappy brothers. I'm trying to think of like the various schools that we faced. We faced pretty much everybody around this territory.
And did pretty well against most of them.
Yeah, Dwight Collins, Beaver Falls. Dwight was a tremendous player. Tremendous player.
I was just over at Beaver Falls this morning, and they were showing me they have in the gym every team that they've ever had up on the walls. Mm-hmm. And they were showing me Dwight Collins. I didn't know a lot about him, but they said he might have been the best athlete to come out of this area. Would you agree?
One of the best.
Yeah.
One of the best. Another guy was a tremendous player. We faced Tommy Clemens, who played in Canada, football, Notre Dame quarterback.
Right.
Joe Montana. There were so many guys in this area. We've lost our numbers now. That's. I mean, even in the state of Pennsylvania now, the state title now has moved over.
Yeah.
Keeps coming to the east. There's so many more people in the east. Didn't used to be that way when we had Pittsburgh rolling.
It was nice to have that East versus West.
Yes.
Back in the day. That's kind of been lost.
I mean, you got guys like Maurice Lucas. Mm-hmm. I mean, you start naming these guys. I mean, there's so many. Dennis Weissink, Ambridge, right? Simmy Hill, Norm Van Leer. There was a tremendous amount of great players. I mean, these guys were pros.
And this is definitely a football area. And I told you I went to the Heinz Sports Museum yesterday.
Okay.
And tucked away in a back corner is their basketball. And all it is two girls, Swin Cash and Susie McConnell. Hardly any guys, tons of football. Does basketball get sort of overlooked in this part of the state, do you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say yes. Over the years, yeah, it's a battle to. I mean, that's something we could talk about another day.
Yeah.
But I mean, Swin Cash, terrific.
Great players.
My daughter played with her on the Three Rivers AAU team, so Swin Cash is terrific, and as Susan McConnell.
Right.
Syria, I mean, she was a tremendous player.
In fairness to the museum, they said they're behind on the last 3 Penguins Stanley Cups, so they're expanding hockey and they're working on the basketball as we speak, so I don't want to cut them short either. But it's time for a little tea for the coach. Mid-session, we always give you something to drink. You can't say we don't feed you. And I also I was given this as a gift today. Ultra 5 energy drink. Have you had it yet, Coach?
Yes, I have. I've had that.
All natural? Good stuff, huh?
Yes.
And I know these energy drinks today, it's a little crazy that some of them don't have the best stuff in them, but that supposedly is all natural, new to the market, so, you know, take a quick drink here.
I'm like secondary break. Come up, we hit the secondary break, we go through that, and then we'll go into a series of stuff, like basically a quick hitter, and then if it doesn't open up the way we want it, then we just go into motion.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I did. Now the secondary break, was it dictated on where the passes went, or did you make a call?
Dean Smith, secondary break.
Yeah.
Reverse the ball, back screen over the top, cross screen inside. We just go right through that series. One of those options open up a lot, and we usually can take advantage. We're smoking it up really fast.
Yeah.
And so if you don't get back and one of your guys is not getting back, you're going to have a problem, because we're going to find that loose guy somewhere. At least that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And as the game wears on, usually, you know, we're going to break you down. By the time we get to the third quarter, you begin to weaken. You know, you can stay with it for a while, but if you haven't really drilled it, because we're going to keep doing it the whole game.
And you know, you're out here helping little kids of all ages. In the book, it mentions you were a kid, and one of your neighbors said, "Hey, let's put up a basketball hoop for you guys to play." And you dug the holes, you put the poles in, and he said, "What about the other end? Full court." And here's a guy, just a neighbor, going out of his way to help you. Is that kind of why you're doing some of this here with these guys?
Yeah, you know, you just have a love for, you know, helping. I guess that's probably what it is. I really enjoy trying to teach somebody something in basketball, and then I watch them play, and I'm watching them, and there it is. You know, what you've taught, they're doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's interesting. I really enjoy that.
I got some quick hitters for you. The lightning round, I'll give you an either or. Quick answer. Number one, man or zone?
Man.
Twos or threes?
I'm gonna say both.
Okay, what's Calipari say? We like twos, but we like layups, but love threes, or whatever it is?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not bent on, I think today, my theory is that it's leaning towards everybody wants to shoot the three, and so what happens is the young kids all start putting them up, and so it breaks their mechanics down, and they have all kinds of flaws in their shot because they tried to do it when they were too young. And only the pure shooter is the guy that like just happened to hit it right as he was growing up.
Right.
So sometimes the three can really hurt you. In America, it hurts us. In Europe, they don't allow those guys to shoot the three in the lower grades. They make them stay close. They make them stay close, refine it, get their mechanics down perfect, and then as they get older and older, then they begin to drop back. If I had Utopia today and you said you're training everyone in America, that's exactly what I would do. I would make the court less, and I would have the three-point line in a little closer, and maybe even the hoops lower.
Right.
So now it's effortless to get that thing up there.
Yes.
So now my mechanics, it's so easy for me to shoot it, right? Versus I'm a little kid, and I go to shoot that big high one, and I'm doing this, elbow sticking out. Once a guy gets it, that way it's
hard to change.
Almost impossible.
Yeah.
Unless the guy is so dedicated, not only those guys you're going to get.
One of my favorite experiences with that, I worked Morgan Wooten's camp down in Maryland. It was at Frostburg State, and there were a couple Europeans there at the camp, and you'd play your games. They were allowed to play games, but as soon as it was pickup game time, they weren't even allowed to do that. So there they are over there pivoting, working on their shot, working on their footwork. They are not allowed to just play pickup willy-nilly like Americans do all the time. Is that some of what AAU is in some respects?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. It's just play, do whatever you want to do, dunk the ball if you can dunk it, and they're not really working on the pure things that, like, especially shooting.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's the other guy that I really studied a lot, Morgan Wooten.
Oh, he's
my defense is his D, 22, 23, 25. All his calls.
Same.
I heard him early on in a couple clinics. I went down there and listened to him when I was really young. I picked up his system, how he makes his calls on defense. I've used it for 40 years.
Well, and in the book, it talks about how you have phrases that you use to say to people to help them remember stuff. I think that's the genius of Morgan Wooten, and his son Joe is very good at this too. They make things that aren't simple the way they explain them. I don't know how, and it makes them easier to do it. I think your verbiage when you're talking to kids is the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, is that something you do intentionally or not?
Yeah, I don't know. I just sort of picked up on it, I guess. I mean, over the years, you hear, you do the crossover, keep the ball inside the railroad tracks.
Right.
It's just like I picked up on that one. I've used that one almost all my life. I mean, one of my players, Cheatham, played at Ohio State. He said that in his talk here recently. He said, I can still hear Coach saying, keep the ball inside the railroad tracks.
Pitt or Penn State? That might be a blasphemous question out here in the western part of the state.
I'm Penn State.
Are you?
I'm Joe Paterno.
Okay.
Joe Paterno.
Good. Old school or new school? That's probably old school if you're...
Old school. I'm old school all the way.
Is that impossible to be in this day and age of coaching high school?
I don't know. Like these girls that play for me right now, I have a 1,700 girls. Everybody wears white socks. That's my rule.
Yep.
You're wearing white. Everybody's the same.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not exactly like Joe Paterno. No names on the back of the jerseys, but I'm just saying.
Team.
Yes, it's everything's team.
Yep.
Everything's team, and even today you see. I mean, I know this sounds pretty trivial, I guess, but like, the latest one is now. The latest one now is I take my pants and I keep this up like that. See, so what I do with my team, like if someone tries to do that, I just say like, time out, everybody. Everybody, look at Danny. Look at Danny. Isn't that beautiful? We have that one pant leg up. Everyone in the gym is looking at me. Everybody sees me. Isn't this wonderful? I just turn it, And so it's one of those. I mean, that's. I don't do it, to try to be nasty, but I get in my own way. I get my point across without really embarrassing. Or I'll joke around and.
Yeah.
I had the one girl. I had the other girl the other day. This happened, and I'm trying to break her the habit of doing this one right here.
Oh, yeah.
So like almost every time that she does that now, I mean, it's just like my whole team's looking at me, and she stops. You know what I mean? The other day I took her shirt, I put it in my mouth, and you know what? I mean, I'm breaking her. She's not doing that very much anymore.
We had a guy who would always do this. So we started calling them symbols.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's a lot of the crazy things that happen, right, when you're coaching or playing.
Are you a big reader of coaching books? Have you read a lot over the years? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I'm usually studying video, just the tapes. Once I get on to something, or whoever that guy is, I'm reading up. I'm always reading up on little things that I think I can, or I'm getting. Like my team, I always make my teams read Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Oh yeah?
You ever read that book?
I don't think I have.
It's just a small little book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and it's I say Jonathan is a basketball player. So when you read this book, he's not a seagull, he's a hoopster. Okay, so as you read the book, it's a nice little short one. You can read it.
Oh yeah.
Read it in 2 days, 1 day.
I know I have it.
Jonathan, let me see what you know. And I'm saying, this guy, this Seagull is a hoops. And if you start thinking about that when you're reading this book, it equates to, you're going to go beyond what anyone else does.
Right.
You're not happy just taking little shots. You're going to go way, way beyond anybody else as far as working out.
Yeah.
And so I always had especially my guys, I always had them reading that book. I make them read it and sign it. They'd have to sign the book that they read it,
How do you know
I
they
got that.
just sign it? Honor code.
Honor code.
There you go.
I'm sure I had a few fudges.
First of all, who'd you pick in the tournament? Who'd you have? Did you fill out a bracket?
I didn't fill out a bracket.
Okay.
Last couple of years, I haven't filled the brackets out. I know who I think can win it. I thought this year, early on, I thought Arizona had a great chance of getting into the Final Four. I really liked them. But then, as all the trouble brewed, it killed them. It finished them off. And then, to me, it was Villanova. I like Jay Wright. He's a tremendous coach.
Great guy. What a guy to develop players.
Super guy.
And a great guy. Yeah. Last question, Coach. Anything else you want to tell people from the eastern part of the state or western part of the state? Do you have a story that they'd like to hear?
I have a story.
Okay.
This goes to Stilton High Spire.
Okay. They won a few state titles.
They beat us. We won the state title 92, 95, 96, 99, and we were, I think, 32-0 playing Stilton High Spire in 2000.
Was that when they had the two 2,000-point scorers?
They had the Cheatham guy.
Yeah, they had two kids that had played all 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were terrific. They had a good team. And we knew going into that game we were going to have to play as good as we could play to beat them. They were good. And but with that being said, and they beat us. But they played every game but one in Hershey Park Arena.
In the state playoffs.
In PIAA. Now they're only a couple miles away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, I think I would have a much, much better chance if I played them up at Colombo in Pittsburgh. Okay. Or if I played them maybe at Penn State, right?
Right.
Because when we showed up for that game, they're 2 miles away. Everybody in Harrisburg was there. It was a home crowd. It was in their arena, and they had played every game. As a matter of fact, Allentown Central said, if we have to play this game for the Eastern playoffs, if we have to play in Hershey Park Arena, we're not coming. So they played it at the McGonigal Center, right?
We had Temple, or are you talking about the Geigel complex at Reading?
Is it McGonigal? I thought it was MC. Is it?
McGonigal is the old Temple gym, Temple University.
Anyway, that's where they
The
played.
Geigel at Reading, right? Probably at Reading.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is they didn't play it there. They moved it to the other thing because Allentown was really complaining.
Yeah.
And then the next game they came back and played us in Hershey. But to me, think about it. You got two teams that are pretty close to being even.
Yeah.
Whether they're a little better or not. But I'm saying, if I played all my playoff games at Colombo and you came up, I guarantee you they're not coming up saying,
well,
this is an even.
Well, you know what it is. It's the old Big Ten versus the Pac-10 Rose Bowl game is always in California.
Yeah.
So with Big Ten, we don't get to play in the cold weather. It's the same kind of thing.
Right.
But
again, and no one's ever heard me bring that up.
That's a great point.
We took it on the chin. We got beat, and they beat us. Simple as that. And you're never going to hear me cry.
Well,
but I'm just saying, between me and you asked for a story, I'm going to give you one.
That's a great point because I remember the 1 year Allen High School played Valley. I think it was at the Civic Center out here, wasn't it?
It was probably in the Civic Arena.
Yeah.
Civic Arena.
And they hadn't been playing there. And then back then they were going back and forth with the places. And then the next year they played Hershey and they lost again to Erie Prep in the finals. But it was like, why have to play a Pittsburgh team in Pittsburgh, which is basically what you're saying was
right.
So is there a solution? Right now, what we have in the PIAA is you have Philly schools bringing nobody to Hershey. You have empty arenas, and then Pittsburgh teams still travel. Everybody else still has to travel far, but nobody's going to the games.
No. To be honest with you, the PIAA right now is a joke. When they opened it up and they let Philly come in, under the rules and the way it's set up right now, it has killed everything.
It has.
Now, why is it that, like, when you go to Kentucky, you go to Ohio, you go to Indiana, that they can go and take the semis and all the finals in one big spot for the whole weekend? And everyone in this state is dying to get there and play their games. Indiana plays where the Indiana Pacers play. They're like 22,000 people.
Yeah.
And it's filled up. It's filled up for all their games, And it's a weekend event. It's a huge event for the whole weekend. People are ready for it.
Which used to be in Hershey Park Arena. It did used to be that way in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So, but with us, it's always just one game. Now you got 6 classifications. You're playing them at lunchtime, and you don't have people there. And I don't know. I just think PIAA right now, that we've lost track of completely what's going on. You got charters. You have the Catholic schools. If you're in a public school right now in the state of Pennsylvania, your chances have come down to nil in terms of being able to get there.
Yeah.
Once in a while, like Pine Richland got there, I think. But very few with all these charters now.
Well, and you were around coaching when there was a separate Catholic and private school tournament.
Right.
Would you like to see it go back to that?
Yeah, I would say that would be more fair. I mean, if you're going to go 6 classifications and that, why not just go Catholic? Put it in the Catholic thing, and you have a Catholic League championship. They really kind of had that going in Philly. Right?
Yeah, and I would say Catholic, charter, and open boundary schools like Philly. You can take a kid from anywhere in Philly at a public school and bring them in. Most of them, not every single one, but most of them. So I would group all of them together, and I would public schools with defined boundaries over here, and 2 separate tournaments, 4 levels, not 6. So you'd end up with 8. You'd have 4 on one side and 4 for the other. What do you think?
Yeah.
So we just got to make it happen.
Definitely a change needs to be made.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really, it's just like college basketball. If they don't make these changes, the one and dones, it has to go.
Yeah, I agree.
It's killing the game.
I agree.
It's killing the college, the universities.
It is, and half of them leave after, like in the prep schools, they'll go to a prep school for a post-grad year and leave as soon as basketball's over. Well, some of the college kids, once basketball season's over, and if they know they're going pro, they're not going to stick around and take classes.
Exactly. They're done.
I mean, they're going to go train for the draft. I just want to thank Coach again. This has been a real pleasure. I've watched a lot of his state titles over the years. I've seen his teams play, and I know his sons have done a great job as well. And I just know when you're talking Pittsburgh basketball, there's really two huge families. This is one of them, the Millers and the McConnells. And is there anything that they have in common? Is there anything?
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. Very interesting one. And two families that are really in the middle of all the basketball.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And even your son brought one of the McConnell boys, TJ, out to Arizona. So that kind of brought it full circle with both families.
Oh yeah, yeah. And we faced them many times.
How'd you do?
We played them many times. I think Tim has a pretty good record against us. We won our fair share.
Yeah.
I think Arch's junior year, we beat them in the Whitfield title game. His senior year, he beat us.
Okay.
So we had the back-to-back Whitfield championships, and we beat him a couple other times. But he's a great coach.
Yeah. Two great families and coaches. Thanks a lot, Coach. I appreciate it.
Okay, I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you very much. Thanks for doing that, too. Tell me about the process. How long did it take to write the book? What did you have to do to write it? How did that all happen?
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting there watching the practices go on, and I had the idea, so I got the guts up to ask him, hey, do you mind if I write a book on you? He had no idea it was going to be a big, thick book, neither did I. And I didn't have any writing experience. I'm an English teacher over here at the local school, and I didn't know how to go about it either. And I started trying to sit down like Stephen King or whatever and write a whole chapter in one day, and I started to get upset, and I said, you know what, Coach, I don't know if this is going to work because I'm getting frustrated. He said, why don't you take it where you do one page every day? He goes, you can write one page every day, right? And I said, yeah, I guess I could do that. And then you do the math, 365 days later, I had too much. The publisher had to chop stuff away. It was too big. So that was just like another little mini lesson he gave me right there. Little bits of hard work every day leads to something, and then the book represents that perfectly.